We are live. I'm going to let our Telegram group know. That's what I'm going to do. I'll let our Telegram group know that we're live right now. Let's do this. Live on YouTube. I don't know how to find the link to this. Like, I don't see a direct link to like this actual live stream, right? You would think there'd be like, what's going on, Christian? You'd think there'd be like a link that I could see, right? Like, I don't want to click, I don't want to like fuck up the actual live stream. That's the thing. Like, I could start clicking around being like, where's the link to the live stream? Like, I could, right? I'm not 100% sure, right? You'd think that would be like easier. You'd think there'd be like something on the bottom for me to see where it's like, this is the link to your fucking live stream and like, you know, copy this link. You'd think that that would be there, right? It's not there. So, right? I think like I just let the Telegram group know that I went live. No link. Right? What's going on, Christian? What's going on, Azjad? What's going on, Sabi? What's going on, Yazid? First, you're fourth Yazid. That's really funny. I mean, you wrote like the first enthusiastic. That's what you did. You, Yazid, because you wrote the first enthusiastic message there in the chat, in turn, other people who wrote like a one word, they're just hi, hello, they got in first. So maybe you were actually first, right? You got the first meaningful one in. How's that sound? A says, what's up? A, are you afraid to have like a name or something? There's like an E as well, just the letter E. Additionally, I've seen E show up in the live chat here, in previous live chats. And I've seen the letter E show up and the letter A. You guys show up in the Telegram group. I mean, no fucking idea who you guys are, right? You don't have a name. You know, some people are like shy. Some people are like, you know, Yusef, how you doing, G? Azjad, like all. Yeah, guys, like, good reminder. Thank you, Azjad. Guys, if you're joining the live stream, please give it a like so you can boost the algorithm. Bring more people here, right? There's 23 of you here and only 5 likes. So there's like 18 of you who are, maybe you don't like it, right? You're not content with how things are progressing so far. Okay, good. There's 8 of you. Appreciate you guys. Jayla, hi, Dr. Mike. Yusef, Joeed, have you opened a chick today? Well, we're right off to the races, aren't we, with that? I mean, why start with med questions when you can ask whether I've opened a chick today, right? I mean, you guys are coming here for med stuff, right? That's the whole idea, like USMLE chat, but you want to know if I opened a chick today. That's like the priority question, right? That I'm reading here in the live stream. I opened a chick at the gym today. Yes, I did. She rejected. And then I opened a chick at an intersection when I left the gym and she also rejected. How's that sound? Yazid, guys, like the live. Yes, guys, please like the live. I appreciate it. Bring more people here with the algorithm. Carson, hello, sir. Johanna SD, hola again. Thanks for everything you do for us. Call me Capalodi. Hi, how to get a good letter of recommendation? Good question. Okay, this is a good question. I've discussed this a little bit, that to get a good letter of recommendation, first of all, it's about whom you know, right? So you want to, so first it's about like, you know, whom are you getting a letter of recommendation from? And then secondly, how to actually, the mechanism via which that LOR can turn out to be a good one, right? So whom you're getting it from is going to be, let's say, it's all about whom you know. So you figure out an institution that you potentially want to go to, and you say, these are the people at that institution. And then you look up online if they're going to like conferences, if they're, you know, what they're up to. Do they present, you know, do they present at any conferences? Where do they go? And then you have to go to those conferences. You think that sounds excessive? Okay. Well, it's a matter of how much of a go-getter you are in terms of, I understand feasibility. You say I'm in fucking Pakistan or India or something, and like it's not feasible for me, or I get it. That's understandable. Okay, sure, fine. But I mean, I'm telling you what you can do. That's ideal if possible, which is you got to figure out a person or persons. You go to their conference, you introduce yourself, you find their connections, and you go to their conferences and say, so you got like a director or someone on a committee, and you find out that they have a close association with someone else, and you get in with that other person. You do an observership with that other person, and then you get a letter from that person, and that's going to be your in at that committee with that committee. Now, it goes without saying that that cannot override or circumvent insufficient slash inadequate scores, 2CK, class rank. You're not going to get in a Massachusetts General Hospital for radiology if you have a 240 on step two, despite any LOR you might have. Okay, so you have to be non delusional as well. Okay, so that's the starting point. Now, in terms of actually getting the LOR, when you go to an institution and you're trying to, uh, you're there for 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever you're doing, and you want to get that LOR. I've talked about this in prior live streams. You don't want. It's not about being sycophantic or obsequious or ingratiating your way in with this one particular person whom you're attempting to get the LOR from. What you're going to be doing is pointing your compass toward helping the intern as much as possible. That's the goal when you are when you're visiting, not just at an institution to get an LOR, but just on your rotations in actual med school. Okay, like your whole goal, everything you're doing is about helping the intern. Okay, so if there's a junior doctor on the team, let's say 2 years out of med school, you have an intern. There's a junior house officer, 2 years out of med school, maybe a principal house officer, 4 or 5 years out of med school. There's a registrar, there's an attending. You have different people on the team at different levels. You're not going to jump the hierarchy and cater to the person who's 5 years out of med school, the principal house officer. You're not going to follow the attending around. Now, people have different levels of affability, right? So an attending might cater to certain, might be more pedagogical, might be more friendly with students than other attendings. But everything you do has to be toward helping the intern. So you're going to get the intern coffee at least twice a week. You're going to show up early to ward rounds. You're going to get all the charts ready, all the stickers ready on the charts. The intern shows up, says you don't have to do that. You say, no, it's just like, I'm just trying to help you out. And then you sit in your fucking corner. You shut the fuck up. It's not about you. You don't make you know, you don't make an ordeal out of the fact that you've done things above and beyond. You're just going to be discreet about things, and you're not going to promulgate what you know. This notion of getting pimped, minimal importance. It's infinitely more important that you demonstrate you're a team player and that it's not about you. Okay. It's all about just how you come off, and you have to be a team player. Okay. So you're going to do everything you can to help the intern, and that will be noticed over time. So the attending's going to show up. He or she's not going to look at you, and he or she will just sort of, pay attention to, like, the med student who's here. What are they up to? Like, are they helping the intern? They're going to be doing their thing with the patients. They're going to be doing their thing, rendezvousing with, with a liaison. They're going to be having their busy check-in, and they might notice out of the periphery that you got a fucking med student here who's like, sycophantic to the intern only and isn't paying attention to really anyone else. And that's a good fucking med student. You'd be like, wow, they're like really like catering this fucking intern right now. This is really good. That's like how a team works. And they make note of that. And they might not say hi to you. Doesn't matter. They're just going to make note that you're helping the intern. You're doing everything you can to help the intern. You might get pimped once or twice on the rotation. It's not about you. You're not going to promulgate what you know. And if you do get put on the spot and someone above you in the hierarchy was not able to answer a question. For example, if the attending at the end of ward rounds, you guys are standing around, maybe the attending asks principal house officer, junior house officer, the intern a question. They don't know the answer. And then they ask you, you're not going to insert yourself, number one. You never fucking insert yourself. But if you're put on the spot after, the intern didn't know the answer, you're asked next, they say, so-and-so, your name is, I don't know, what name do we want? Chelsea, okay? Michael, whoever the fuck the the med student is. So they're going to put you on the spot, and you're not going to one up the intern. That's not what you're going to do. If the intern's name is John, you say, and John didn't know the answer, you're going to say, well, as John was saying, John made a good point about X, Y, Z, and we were thinking about this as another possibility. So maybe this could also be the case. But John had made a good point about this. So you're really kind of, if you're gonna be in a position where you're gonna present information where someone else didn't know first, you better fucking make sure that you come off in a way where you're not one upping anybody. That's infinitely more important than anything you know. Okay, you're gonna shut the fuck up. It's not about you. You're not gonna promulgate your USMLE knowledge because you're so special. You're just going to make sure that you're a good team player, and that's what they look for. And your entire presence at a visiting rotation when you're getting the letter is just going to be catering to the intern. You're going to be doing nothing else. You're just going to focus on the intern, and that's going to work its way up the food chain. 4 weeks in, at some point, it's going to get relayed. They're going to say, you, so and so, the med student, has been doing a really good job helping out. That's going to get relayed, and that in turn can get you a good letter. You can develop that rapport with the intern and say, look, like it's not about me. Like as the observership progresses toward the end, you say it's not about me. But look, it's like obviously I'm here to try to do the best I can to get a letter out of this from so and so, the attending. I'm not entitled, but do you think like we could possibly try to make this work could you put in a word for me or something? I mean, I'm not entitled, but maybe do you think we could figure this out somehow? It's not, just whatever you think is best. And the intern might help you out that way. Okay. Because you've been fucking an obsequious toady to him or her the entire 6 weeks you're there, getting him or her coffee, and doing everything you can to help with the charts and just showing that you're not about yourself. And then that's going to work itself out, and that's how you get a good letter, an excellent letter. And then that connection that's in place because you had done your research prior, that's how you work through that process of getting in an institution. That's what you're going to do. You just have to remember, it's not fucking about you. Okay, when you rock up to an observership, when you rock up, you're going to shut the fuck up, and you're not going to make it about you, and you're not going to promulgate what you know. Okay, it's not about what you know. It's about being a team player, and it's about putting others first in the team. That's what you're going to do. How's that for an answer? Thank you, Nakia Brooks and GT, for the super chats. I appreciate it. I'm going to work my way down through the chat like I always do. Of course, that's what I'm going to do. If you ask a question, it might take me time to get to it. I'll answer it. Sometimes you might ask a question, be like, Mike isn't getting to it anytime soon. And then you might leave the chat. And I've answered questions before. People are already out of the chat. They ask the same dumb question in the next live stream. And I'll tell you, I've answered it, prior. So, if you leave a super chat, it's not about the cash for me. Okay. But if you leave a super chat, even if it's like $1, okay, or $2, like GT here, thank you, GT, and thank you, Nakia, for the $10. But I'll look at exactly what your question. I'll see it, and I'll move down to your question and make it priority. That's what I'm going to do right now. So GT, you asked Anki settings to go through your farm Anki deck. It doesn't fucking matter, okay? I mean, you're just going to go through. There's no settings you have to employ. No one's asked me that before. You're just going to knock out the mini farm decks, right? That suit you. The farm deck that I've made is purposely split up where it's not that many cards per system. You can chop out like 15 cards at a time, and there's no specific setting. All right, so let me scroll back up now. Guys, give the video a like if you're here. So drive up the algorithm a bit. Appreciate it, guys. Sub to my channel if you haven't already. All right, someone else, Gayla, thanks for the $10 super chat. I really fucking appreciate it. And if you have a question, write it because I'm going to look down because you're getting priority. Otherwise, it's going to take me a while to see if you have a question. Thank you. All right, so Yazid. Uh, Wait, oh man, I thought I was the first. Oh well, next time, inshallah. Well, yeah, I said you were the first enthusiastic. That makes me feel better. Blah blah blah. Chanela, Mike, how are you? What's up, Chanela? It's either Gayla. No, Gayla, you didn't write a question. Okay, scroll down. Uh, Mukul Demon. Is it true we get 50% pharmacology on USMLE Step 1? It's not true. This isn't subjective. This isn't like anyone's opinion. Like objectively, like you can go to the USMLE website and like there's like some PDF, some big like 90-page nonsense circumlocutory PDF where somewhere in there they have a percentage, an objective percentage breakdown of um, the contents of the steps. So farm, I mean, it's not going to be 50%. It's going to be like probably it's going to be under 10%. I'd say like 5 to 8% or something. That's my guess. Okay, let me scroll back up. Gayla, I gave you two chances. I looked down, but I really appreciate that you gave the super chat. But if you guys had a question, as I said, it could take me a while to get there. So, Nakia Brooks, hey doctor, Mike, good to see you. Sarah Garotley, hey Dr. Mike, great neuro video today. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean the MS. I did an MS YouTube MCQ today. Ishan Deshmukh. Hi, Doctor. Big fan. Michael Betamariam. What's going on, Michael? Good to see you again as well. Yeah, I mean, you're a new member of my channel. So you've kind of surfaced out of, I appreciate you, man. Goku Ha. Goku in Japanese means to chug. So in like, so in the United States or something, you'd say chug it. Or if someone's doing like, drinking something, right? You say chug it. In Australia, we say skull it. And in Japan, we say Goku. Right? Goku Suru. Goku Ha, hello, I did not pass Comlex 1. Now I have 4 to 5 months of dedicated. What should I do differently? UWorld expired, thanks. Well, the first thing I'd want to know is if you're in class and you got to deal with onerous school requirements. That's the first thing. The second thing I'd want to know is, have you sat any NBME exams? When was the last time you sat an NBME? Even though it's Comlex 1, when's the last time you sat an NBME? When's the last time did you sit in any NBMEs? What did you get on Comlex 1? Did you take ComSays prior to the Comlex 1? How many ComSays? What were your scores on the ComSays? That's what I'd want to know. 460 is a pass for Comlex 1. So if let's say you got like, 440 on Comlex, it would be like getting a 193 or something on step 1 equivalent, which 197 internal pass mark for step 1. So I'd want to have an idea of where you're sitting, and then I can use that to propel forward a schedule for you as far as would we want you doing QBank for a month, 2 months, or would we entertain having you go straight back into the NBME exams, right? That's what I'd have you do. But you're going to probably do in a vacuum, without talking to you, you're probably going to do a month of QBank, followed by a month of the NBMEs. Allah A Al Halabi. Hi, Mike. What's going on? Yazid, I usually come on here and don't have questions because I feel like you already answered everything. I just like, well, if you feel like if you're already up to date on everything I've said, that's unusual because I get asked the same dumb questions repeatedly daily. Mahmoud Ahmed. I'm a big fan. I was struggling with USMLE using FA and UWorld, but after your material, it became easier. Thanks, Dr. Mike. That's good, Mahmoud. Allah Halabi. How much percent of biochem, genetics, histology, immuno, micro we get in step one? As I just said before, these things are objectively written on the USMLE website, and like they've got some massive PDF. You can just look at that, guys. If you're coming in the live stream, please give the video a like. Jack up the algorithm, get people here, right? Barcelona World. Hi, Dr. Mike. I recently learned that CNS lymphomas are a thing. Of course they are. I thought the CNS did not have any lymphoid tissue, so I'm confused as to how lymphoma can arise within the CNS tissue. Great fucking question. No fucking idea. All right. But you need to know primary CNS lymphoma, exceedingly high yield for not just AIDS patients, but also autoimmune diseases. For example, SLE, Hashimoto, dermatomyositis. So, for example, you're going to get a 44-year-old woman who it's going to be a one-liner. They're going to say 44-year-old woman with SLE, and she has a seizure, and then they say head CT shows a ring-enhancing lesion. They show you the head CT, and it's not circular. It's some irregular ring-enhancing lesion. And they'll ask you for the diagnosis. There's no other information. Toxo, wrong fucking answer. Correct answer, primary CNS lymphoma. Very easy question. But you need to know that autoimmune diseases increase the proclivity for primary CNS lymphoma in particular. And as I just said, AIDS patients, so immunocompromised state, that's going to be high yield for lymphoma. Okay. And also another thing, if it's an AIDS patient, if they want primary CNS lymphoma, something else they can tell you is that the patient's already on TMPSMX, the implication being that it can't be toxo, right? Because TMPSMX is the prophylaxis for both toxo as well as pneumocystis, right? That's what they can say as well. So the prophylaxis and treatment for PJP pneumocystis is going to be TMPSMX. The prophylaxis for toxo, TMPSMX. The treatment for toxo, sulfadiazine pyrimethamine, not TMPSMX. So sulfadiazine pyrimethamine, it's asked once on a 2CK NBME. Where was I in the chat? Toby. Hello, Dr. Mike. What is this USMLE step 2 that is 2 parts, something with clinical skills interview taking with actors playing patients? Thought it was only steps 1, 2, and 3. Well, I haven't heard anything about that. USMLE 2CS, that was retired, right? I sat the USMLE 2CS years ago when it was still in existence. I passed. It's like, that's cool. It was in Philadelphia. I talked about it yesterday. They had good sandwiches there. But I mean, that was mock patients, right? Back in the day, the CS, and they've replaced that with this OET nonsense. But if you're talking about something else, I haven't heard about that. Asjad. How do we know when we're ready to sit step 2 CK after doing all the NBME content and everything? Will we ever feel ready? Oftentimes you're not going to feel ready. That subjectivity never abates. Okay, so no matter how high you're scoring, you're often not going to feel ready. Okay, so you'll know objectively. So we go by objective, not subjective aspects. Objective, i.e. the NBME exams. I go based on the NBME exams. I don't care how the student feels about getting through, his or her subjective feeling of preparedness. That's sort of like the irony is that, the notion of you're supposed to care how people feel, quote unquote, empathy. And I'm like, well, it's not about that. It's about I don't give a fuck how you feel with regard to your preparedness, because it's what is objective that matters. That is your scores on the NBMEs. So insofar as you do well in the NBME exams, right, then you're ready. And also objective, it's not just your scores, but objective check marks as far as have you gone through all the CMS forms twice? Have you done NBME 6 through 8, then free 120, then 9 through 14? Have you checked the box on all that material? Right? That's what I want to see. Because, for example, if you're ready to sit the 2CK and you're getting like a 252 on your NBMEs and you're you're decently content with that, right? You're not upset about that. You're decently content. You say, well, 260 would be nice, 270 would be nice, but like I'm not despondent about a 252. Okay. And I'd say, have you done all the CMS forms twice? No. Have you done all the NBMEs 6 through 14? Well, I did 9 through 13 or whatever. I'm saving 14. I'll be like, you didn't do 6 through 8? They're like, no. I'm like, did you do free 120? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, you didn't do 6 through 8. You didn't do a double pass of all the CMS forms. So before you touch 14, you're going to delay like 3 weeks or whatever, or 4 weeks. And we're going to have you go through all the CMS, probably 3 weeks, go through all the CMS forms again, 6 through 8. And then you're going to do 14. The student's like, well, I don't want to delay. It's like, well, what do you want me to fucking tell you? Because you're trying to get a high 2CK score, aren't you? There's certain objective things you can do. And that's one of them. So it's not just about like objectively are your scores okay, but it's also objectively have we checked the box on all of the on getting through not just the NBMEs but all the CMS forms twice, right? Hi, Mike. Ahmed Khan. Hi, Mike. Once again, I got 230s on NBME 26. Only NBME 31 and 120 and the 120s remaining, and I'm done with most of PDFs, not G, IT, or repro. Booked exam on 24th of July. Should I do all NBMEs again in your revised PDF scan? Bro, I mean, if you're getting 230s on the NBMEs, like that's laughably good. You need a 197 internal pass mark. I've inculcated that I want you getting 205, 210 plus on 3+ NBMEs to sit. So I don't. You don't have to move your exam up per se because it's not far away anyway. But you're ready to sit. I just want you to make sure that you, Ahmed Khan, that you knock out all of 20 through 31. Yes, and you said only maybe 31 and 20 120s remaining, but you could re-review the NBMEs you've already done, 20 through 24. I don't know if you've done the offline ones, but I want you to do 20 through 24. You only have to do the new free 120. It's not mandatory to do the old one. And yeah, just knock out all the NBMEs, review those, make sure you know my PDFs, high yield arrows. I want you to know high yield arrows. That's what you're gonna do. And your scores are in the 230s. We're not worried. Mahmoud Ahmed, what's the main requirements to get radiology matching? Well, high scores. You need a high 2CK score, and you need obviously a letter, good letters. If you're talking top institutions, right, you need like research as well. Radiology is very competitive. Why is it competitive? Because it pays a lot of money to sit in a dark room. Some people want that. Some people they want the cash, right? I mean, do you want to sit and look at like x-rays in a dark room, right? Is that what you want to do? I mean, if it pays good cash, right? It's about the cash. It's just the cash, right? People are like, no, I'm passionate about radiology. It's like, no, you're not. It's just the cash. Let's be real. It's the cash. It's lifestyle, right? It's like same with skin. People are like, I want to do dermatology. I'm passionate. It's like, no, you're not. It's called the cash. It's called lifestyle cash. And you know why? Because if pumping gas paid $900K a year, you'd get people fucking lining up with their 279s and 283s, applying into pumping gas residency. That's what they'd be doing. So I'm not going on like attempting to go on a derogatory tangent about like, the requirements for radiology matching. I'm just saying like radiology, you want to do that, then you're obviously going to have to get a high score on CK, and you're going to have to Get a letter, a couple letters, and you're going to have to, depending on where you want to go, research can help you, right? That's what it is. When you don't want a competitive specialty, you don't have to worry about stuff like that. You know, the fortuitous thing about like not being interested in like competitive specialties is like you can get a high score. You can get like a 270 and you're like, I'm interested in like internal medicine, right? You're like, I'm interested in like pediatrics or something or psych, family medicine. I'm interested. And it's a great feeling because you're like, when you have a 270 and you're pumped about family med, well, you can go fucking anywhere. Not worry. It's a cool feeling. But if you're going to be applying into the specialties that have big cash, right? That's what it is. Uh, gotta have an application that's more wholesome. Noreen Bagdoyan. That's laughable. Is that a troll question, Noreen? Can you please send me Kaplan biochemistry? Like, is that a troll? Right? Like, if someone writes something like that in the Telegram group, I just like rip on them. Don't I? Like, that's how I respond in the Telegram group, don't I? I'm just like, that's like a cuck. That's cuckery. I mean, in reality, it just says you haven't had proper guidance to this point. That's what it communicates. It's not your fault. You haven't had proper guidance. You know, I don't know what your influence is. I don't know where you're from. I don't know what the last name, where you're from, but you've got some cuck professor who's like recommending to you like Robbins or Kaplan or something. This isn't fucking 1994. It's 2023. And the thing is, Kaplan only exists within the realm of B2B at this point. Kaplan exists within the domain of business to business, which is they have contracts with medical schools to run like Kaplan courses and stuff because the medical schools themselves don't know how to prepare the students. So they outsource the education to like programs like Kaplan, even though Kaplan doesn't know what they're doing. And like Kaplan runs their own course. They just run their own independent med course that has like no relation to USMLE really. They just like they've honed like a just a generic med course. So different from like med school teaching you a bunch of like, you know, random information that doesn't cater to the USMLE. Like Kaplan has their course. And um it's not ideal, but you've got to like focus on the how about you do my biochemistry PDF? How's that sound? How about you do my biochemistry PDF? How about you do my biochemistry modules? I have free biochemistry modules on my website. I've got a biochemistry playlist on the YouTube. That's ACE. I have biochemistry paid Anki. You don't have to do those. I've got a lot of a lot of free content. The PDF, as I just said, fucking excellent. The YouTube playlist, excellent. The modules, excellent. They're all free. Right? Satan Aftando. Can you apply to preliminary transitional years with just step one result? I don't think so. You can't have the audacity to think that you're going to match into anywhere, even if it's just a prelim or a transitional year without a step two score. You have to have a step two score. Some people have opined the notion that you could apply some places without a 2CK score. My response is nowhere you'd want to go. Because any place that's actually of like, you know, that's a legitimate program wouldn't look at people without a step 2 CK score. Right? Noreen, is it possible for an IMG to get selected for OBGYN residency? It is. Any residency. Ibrahim, M-L-E-K. I'm 2 weeks away from the exam. I scored 68% on free 120. I took NBME 30 before and scored 75%. Is that okay for passing? The 68% on free 120 is borderline. I'd like higher, but it's not bad. The 75% NBME 30 is great. Anything above 70 is very good. So my response is in 2 weeks, you're going to have to do the other NBME exams. Where are the other scores, Ibrahim? I've harped on the fact that you should be doing 20 through 31, all of them at free 120. So, I mean, where's 25 through 29 and 31? Where are those NBMEs? Where are those? You know, like if you get 75% on, you know, more of the online NBMEs, as I said, I'd prefer you would have finished 20 through 24 offline as well, but it's not a crisis if you ultimately are getting 70s. Those are high scores. You know, what's more concerning is if you got a 65% and maybe 30, then you're borderline. Then it becomes much more of an imperative that you have your other NBME exams. Manthan Patel, how do you approach reading questions? I have a hard time figuring out the diagnosis fast when I'm doing random blocks. If I know it's family med surge block specifically, only then it's much easier to get the diagnosis. Do you have any suggestions? I get overwhelmed. Thank you for your help and suggestions. I've said that when you are reading questions, an ideal way to approach longer stems is to go backwards. And it's not a contrived or manufactured procedure that I've developed for the sake of it. It's that I've evolved to do, my own questions, read questions over decade plus of teaching where someone sends me a long question. I glance at the answer choices. Is it an organism? Is it a next best step in management? Is it a what's the diagnosis? So what kind of question do we have? And then on top of that, what category of like what topic? Is it a renal question? Do I see like prerenal azotemia there, where I know as one of the answer choices, right? Where I know I need to be looking at, is there going to be a BU and a creatinine ratio I need to look at as an example? So what kind of question do we have? And then I immediately look up at the lab values if they're there. As I just said, BU and a creatinine ratio could be an example. I could look at sodium, potassium, pH bicarbonate, if it's an aldosterone type question. Could be looking at serum sodium, urinary osmolality, urinary specific gravity, if it's an ADH type question. So I look at those things. And then I glance up at the paragraph, sort of like a wordless collage. I just glance around, sort of, is there anything that jumps out at me, such as a blood pressure or a buzzy phrase like reticulonodular pattern on chest x-ray, which can mean pulmonary fibrosis. Does something jump out at me? If no, if I am unable to get the answer by that point, the student will candidly hear me say, "You fucking serious? I got to read this right now." So then 5 to 7 seconds after not being able to get the answer going backwards, then I'll start reading the question from the beginning. That's how I tend to be with questions. Okay, like the student will send me a question and I'm not reading it. I'm going backwards. I'm just looking around random, like all over the place. And then after like 5 to 7 seconds, I'm like, you fucking kidding me? I got to read this right now. That's what I'll say. And then I'll start from the beginning of the question. You can get like a quarter to a third of NBME USMLE questions without even reading them at this point. I can at least. I lost where I was. Mohe. There was one student that pointed something out to the attending that the resident didn't notice, and the resident got chewed out for 5 minutes. But you're right. You have to know your place as a student. No fucking shit. You have to know your place as a student. The number one way to have people not like you on anywhere you are, any rotation at your school on a visiting clerkship, is to one up somebody. It's not about you. You got to be very careful. I was angry at I was unhappy with an endocrinologist when I was in med school because I was with a one of the doctors on my team who was like he was like 5 years out of med school, and it was like no, it was like four or five of us, and she asked him because we had a patient with Dequervain, and you need to know that uptake is always low in subacute granulomatous thyroiditis, even if the patient is hyperthyroid. That's like a very easy thing for USMLE. You have to know that. I've inculcated that. Uptake's always low in subacute granulomatous thyroiditis, as well as postpartum thyroiditis, drug-induced thyroiditis, lithium amiodarone. Okay, even if you're hyperthyroid, that's what sets it apart from things like Graves' disease, where you're hyperthyroid but you have increased uptake, or toxic adenoma, where you have increased uptake, or toxic multinodular goiter, where you have multifocal increased uptake. So you need to know uptake's low in subacute granulomatous thyroiditis to Dequervain, even if the patient is hyperthyroid. And the endocrinologist asked the registrar, who was 5 years out of med school, she asked him, and he said like increased uptake, and she didn't answer him right away. She was kind of like, "What do you think?" And he was like, "Increased uptake." And then she's like, "Michael, what do you think?" And I'm like, "It's like, how do you like work that one?" I'm just like, "It's decreased." That's what I said. I'm like, "It's decreased uptake." And then like she's like, "Yeah, it's decreased." And then like he was like not happy about that, and that like pissed me off because I was like, "Why did that have to happen?" Like there was like no way to really like maneuver that. It was just like, "What's your answer? What's your answer?" And it was like, I was like, "It's decreased." And then she's like, "Yeah, it's decreased." And I was like, "Great." Now he doesn't like me. And then like it was just like that type of thing you don't like. That's not you don't want to be in that situation. It's not about what you know. You got to shut the fuck up, and you got to make sure it's not about you. That's the point. That's really funny, A. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Guys, if you're new to the live stream, give the video a like. Jack up the algorithm. And if you have questions, I'm making my way through the chat here, and but you can do a super chat, and I'll see your stuff faster. If you do a super chat, I'll answer it with a question. I'll answer it right away. Noreen says, "Is it possible to take step one after studying for 5 months?" I think you asked this in like the last live stream, and I said that's way too long. You only need 3 months to study for step one. 2 months for QBank, a month for the NBMEs. Ali H, good morning. Well, it's 4:22 a.m. in Japan on Wednesday here, so it is morning where I am. Good morning, Dr. Mehlman. I hope you are feeling awesome today. You motivate me. That's good, Ali H. Shalva Chokali. Hey, how's it going? What's going on, Shalva? June Lee, you're a member of my channel. I appreciate it. You've asked 2 messages. You wrote 2 messages and then you retracted both of them. But I scroll down. I see you actually did write a question, and I'll answer it right now because you're a member of my channel, June Lee. And I know you remember because you're green. You got my icon next to you. Everyone else is gray. Hey, Mike, I'm sitting for step 1 on July 6th, and my NBMEs 20 to 26 are 217, 225, 220, 1215, 227, 226. Okay, they're all good. NBME 27, 211, free 127%. And I feel like shit after taking every single exam. UWorld 80% finished. Am I ready to go? Yes, you're ready to go. But you got to finish the other NBMEs. Yeah, you're fine. Perfectly fine. I'm happy with those scores. I've said 205, 210 plus. Your scores are solid. You got to finish the other NBMEs. That's what you got to do. Guys, give the video a like. You know what's hilarious is I think there were 50 likes on this video. Now there's 49, which means someone's a fucking asshole. Isn't that funny? Like someone was here who liked it and then they unliked it. That's what it means. That's what happened. I mean, what are you going to do, right? Someone was like, "I'm going to rescind my like. I don't like how he comes off," or something. That's how humans are. That's how humans are. Like there was someone here who like liked it probably initially, and then they were like, "I don't like how he comes off in some form." I'm not making it about me. I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying like you have someone who rescinded their like, I find it amusing, right? Because it's like there were 50 and then it went down to 49. I saw it. Let's see. Sometimes people can like a video as like they like bookmark it. I know some of you guys do that. You bookmark. Sometimes I'll post a clip, it gets like a shitload of likes instantly, and then like it'll dip a little bit. So maybe some of you see the clip, you like it to bookmark it, and you're like, I'm gonna come back to this in my likes playlist or whatever. And then you see it later, and then you fucking unlike it because you're an asshole, right? But then the likes go up later. That's what happens. Gayla, you say, can I do your PDF and YouTube playlist instead of question banks before starting CMS forms? The answer is no. I want you to do all of UWorld or Amboss before starting the CMS forms. I mean, I'm flattered that, if you want to not do UWorld and you think that my PDFs and YouTube playlist are enough, but at least at this moment in time, because step 2 in particular is numerical and your score matters, you have to do QBank. Step 1, I mean, in time, that type of notion could be entertained in time because it's a pass-fail exam. But for a numerical 2CK that is like 90 to 95+% of your competitiveness for residency, it's not a good idea to forgo UWorld or Amboss. Mustafa says, Mike with the traditional evening stream, solid. Evening for you over in Turkey. Right, Mustafa? Maybe you're here, maybe you're not still. Because I know you're out with Catalan earlier, approaching chicks. Right? And also there's like someone else. Wasn't Bilal, like Bijal. Wasn't Bilal, Bijal. There's like that other guy, right? I mean, you're probably on like your third date of the day right now. Third or fourth date of the day. At this point. Well, you probably just finished it up. Hence you're in my live stream, right? But you ask good questions though. I mean, in terms of stuff that's not med related, it's good to have that as well. I can address very polarizing questions. PHV proxy, Mike, any general study tips? It's too general of a question, PHV proxy. Dainty Purple Bird, how to prepare for OMM part in Comlex 1? The answer is you're going to deal with your nonsense blue book. I think there was some chick, Stephanie Chang, who dipped in my live stream like 5 or 6 streams ago who said, actually, Michael, it's a green book. I was like, all right. So you do your blue book, okay? The traffic lights here in Japan, they're red or blue. They say blue. They don't say green. So maybe it's like something similar, You're just going to do your blue book. That's what you're going to do. You're just going to deal with it and do the ComBank OMM questions. Crazy Arabic name that I can't pronounce. Can I start with your PDFs first instead of NBMEs? You can do them throughout your prep. I would do them before, like through QBank. I've said this. What you're going to do is you're going to do like a morning session where you have 40 UL questions that you finished. You're going to have lunch, and then you're going to have your afternoon/evening where you go through my PDFs, you go through my YouTube MCQs. But you need to be going through those PDFs alongside question bank, and that's obviously prior to you starting the NBMEs. I've said that. Because the final month should primarily be NBME focus. That's how the final month should be. It should primarily be an NBME focus. So if you are waiting to do my PDFs until you're already in the NBMEs, it's too late. And there's too much content in my NBME, in my PDFs. So if you're going to wait to go through my PDFs until you're like in or after the NBMEs because you're worried about the notion of them artificially inflating your score, which is nonsense, then you're not going to be able to get through my PDFs and you're not going to have an ideal outcome. Now you can pass if it's step one, right? But if you don't pass, you should have gone through my PDFs. There's a lot of people like that on the forums, right? Who like don't go, they might go through like one of my PDFs and be like, oh, I wish I went through more of his PDFs. You also get people who will pontificate ignorantly, who don't go through my PDFs, but then they'll say like, they'll have some negative opinion about the PDFs, even though they haven't fucking done them, right? You get people like that too. MSSAM girl 15. I found out I passed step one last week. I watched 10 of your videos every day for the last month. It's good. Fariha Fatima. You've got a lot of degrees, molecular biology, etc. In your opinion, is USMLE 1 and 2 hard compared to all of them? USMLE is not hard in my view. Medicine's that's an audacious statement that can rub people the wrong way, right? Right? What do you want me to say? It's not hard. It's just clockwork. People who are smart should be doing things like engineering, solving climate, solving AI. Solve AI, that's more important. And then AI will take care of everything else. Yeah. If you're getting like 286 on the NBM, if you're getting like a 283, you chose the wrong career. Obviously there need to be good doctors out there. There have to be good doctors out there. But if you have that a level of intellect, I can't imagine that you'd be fulfilled. Like things aren't hard enough. Khalid Hossein, what's up, Mike? I asked this yesterday. Not sure if you got into it. I took that step one, passed. Don't know how much. By how much? Do I need to review the content before step two CK review? Absolutely not. You're going to take like a week off and then you're going to just start QBank for step two. And then that'll take you like 2 months. Then you're going to do 3 to 3.5 weeks on all the CMS forms, 2 per day. And then you're going to do NBME 6 through 8. That'll take you 6 days. And then you're going to do a double pass of all the CMS forms. Holy shit. Another 3 to 3.5 weeks. You're going to do free 120 1 day. And then you're going to do 9 through 14, 2 days per NBME. And then you're going to sit about 4 months. Pavi Sahoda. I have CCS July 19th. CCSE. CCSE is the internal school comp exam, but for level 2. Haven't touched OBGYN, psych, or pediatrics in a while. I've passed those shelves. What is the best, quickest way to hit those subjects? Well, you have my OBGYN PDF and playlist on the YouTube. You've got pediatrics PDF and playlist on the YouTube. Psych, I don't cover too much because I have a PDF, but I don't cover it too much because I find it boring. Psych's a lot of like intuition, isn't it? Do the CMS forms. You gotta do all the CMS forms for those subjects. You have to know those. Do the CMS forms. There's 7 CMS forms for psych. It's overrepresented. So you can knock out all the 7 psych CMS forms. That's fine. That's good. What's up, King? Hope you're doing fine, says Migs. Sarah Garotley. Is it true that offline NBMEs inflate scores by 1 to 2%? The answer is no. I've been told this and wanted to know if that's true. It's not. AP Sans, he's back. AP Sans, how many hours do you sleep? Not many. I got Yesterday wasn't bad actually. I slept from like 9:30 a.m. until like 5 p.m. That was like too long. I don't like that. And then I did 3 hours of teaching before I started this live stream, and I took a 10-minute power nap before my final student. That's what I did. I give myself like a half-hour break between students, and then you know, always have some food, and then I literally did a 10-minute power nap. I had a matcha before I started this live stream, like an actual matcha. I've got like expensive matcha powder and a matcha bowl and a chawan and made a good matcha. Koi matcha is what we call it, which means dense matcha. It's like very little water. It's very bitter, and a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people don't like it. I like it. Modern people are weak. A lot of people in modern society are weak. They're like, I don't like it. It's like bitter. It like makes me feel bad. I don't like, I need like, people are like kids, you know. Previous generation just drank their fucking matcha and they didn't like complain. Now people are like, I need like a sweet matcha latte with like lots of milk and like lots of sugar and like, people are weak. I don't know what to tell you. Matcha's fucking good for you. You should drink matcha. Drink hojicha as well. I have hojicha powder. And I have a whisk, bamboo whisk. I use that. It's good. Brown, hi Mike. Brown, can I do my incorrects before going into the NVMEs? I don't want you doing that, Brown. I've harped on the fact that what you're going to do is finish UWorld or Amboss. Then you're going to do NVMEs 20 and 21 offline, and you're going to get the number of wrongs from each of those forms. So you're first obviously going to do 20. So you're going to get your number of wrongs from 20. You're going to go onto Google Images, not Google. You're going to go into Google Images and type in NVMe 20 score conversion Reddit. And you're going to plug your number of wrongs into the equation. And you're going to get a 3-digit score. If it's a 189 or lower, you can go back to your incorrects for an entire month, not 2 weeks, month. If you get a 190 or higher, you move to NVMe 21, and we're going to repeat that. So then you do NVMe 21, and if your score is 190 to 196 or 190 or higher, you can go on to NVMe 22. But when you hit NVMe 22, you must get a 197 or higher, which is the pass mark. In other words, I allow a mild fail on 20 and 21. We see how you go. But if you get if you get 189 or lower on 20 or 21, or you get 196 or lower on 22 onward, I just take an entire month out of your prep, and I'm like, you're going back to QBank for an entire month. If the student doesn't like the idea of that, the student's like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. I'm like, great, then do well in the NVMEs. You don't have to do that. Okay. And if the student can't postpone his or her exam, you say, well, I have to sit in 3 weeks or they're going to kick me out of med school. I have to sit. Then I say, okay, well, you just got to know that you got to objectively pass these NVMEs, and you got to get 205, 210 plus. Because I'm not going to sign off on somebody sitting the USMLE if he or she's not passing, right? I'm not going to sign off on that. So, if a student's not getting good scores in the NVMEs right before their exam, I say, I don't want you to sit. They say I have to. The school's forcing me to. It's like, well, you got to know the risks. But ideally, if you can move your exam, I like to see 205, 210 plus by the time you get to NVMe 27 upward, because I want a buffer before you sit. And then for step 2, obviously 214's passed, so I'd like looking at a 220 plus for a buffer, right? Goku Ha, hello. Dr. Mike, failed Comlex. Failed NVMe practice exams 54%. ComSafe 4 weeks before, step 398. I wrote Comlex because I thought that 400 was a pass. According to Google, no class. I think I addressed your complex question earlier, though, right? Okuha. You gotta do QBank. You're gonna do QBank for a month. I mean, at least before going to the NBMEs and ComSays again. Do my PDS. Triple Z, looking good, man. Groot 93. If I'm ranging in 50s on 40 question random mode blocks, 15% UWorld done. Can I start taking NBMEs? No. You're not doing NBMEs till you finish all UWorld. Chanela Nisbet. You should do your next Q&A while doing a walking tour of some cool city in Japan or skateboarding around. If you have impeccable coordination, multitask. Well, clearly you've not seen my fucking IG lives, Chanela. What do you think my IG lives have been? Go to my fucking IG, right? And apart from some supercilious, like pinned picture of me without my shirt on, I've got all my fucking IG lives there, right? I'm literally skateboarding around, answering, well, questions. Not, I mean, I tend not to address like med questions while I'm skateboarding around. But for YouTube, I mean, it's a different psychology when you're on the platform. Like people use Instagram for escapism. You know, sure, there's people who have like medical accounts and they have their fucking like. I've dabbled with that in the past. I dabbled with that in the past. I don't use it for that reason, really. Instagram. I don't use it for like medical focus. Like I'm not there to fucking put up like here's your question on like Hashimoto. Like I dabbled in that as I said. It's just like I think I prefer to do Instagram as like another dimension of like it's okay to have that as like you know just something that's not like just med. I think it's just boring. I think everything med is just boring. You know, some people are like, Michael, you should only do medicine and only medicine, like, it's boring. So I do the IG lives skating around, right? Blue face, brown. Chanela pumping gas residency. It's true. As I said before. Pumping gas paid 900K a year. People would be lining up with their fucking 279s to pump gas. Don't give me this nonsense about how like you're passionate about fucking like dermatology or like radiology. You don't give a fuck. Zero interest. The only reason you're considering that one of those residencies or like wanting to fight for a residency like that is because, and especially at a high institution, it's for a combination of cash, lifestyle, and then prestige while you're at it with the notion of a high institution. So it's the only reason people do those things, you know? Because what if I told you dermatology paid, the same amount as like the typical family doctor or something, and you could only go to residency in like some place that's like, not well known? Would you do it? You're like, no. It's like, no fucking shit, you wouldn't. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you want stability in your life. You want to purchase things. You want to travel, right? You want to do those things. It's understandable. But don't feign the idea that like you're passionate. Don't feign that. Don't pretend that like you're interested in fucking like skin. You don't give a fuck about skin. You didn't like grow up fucking like when you're 5 years old saying like I'm gonna do skin. That's not what happened. June Lee. Well, I already read your question before because you remember I scrolled down to it. Mahmoud Ahmed. Thanks. I'll try to do what you said. It's not about the cash. It's my passion because it's hilarious right now. It's my passion because one of my family members died because of a wrong radiological diagnosis. I mean, you read something like that, and then you have to it forces like an empathetic answer on like the responder's end. It's like, What am I supposed to say? Be like, I'm sorry to hear that. I have to say it sincerely and mean it sincerely. It's not just like I'm sorry to hear that, right? Still about the cash, though. I mean, let's just be real here. Let's not pretend that because someone, you know, I'm not downplaying adversity. That's someone that this happened. Still about the cash. Toby, what would you say about passing the exam is the most minimal score? Don't get me wrong, scoring above 70% is good, but for USMLE passing scores around 64% real exam question mark or 60% question mark, just asking. I'd said about 2/3. You want to get about 2/3 correct on USMLE. That's what you want. 2/3 correct, at least. I said 70% on BMEs is really good. This is hilarious. Mohammed Maher says, is it okay to be a fast reader? I read explanations very quickly. It's not okay to be a fast reader. You need to be a slow as fuck reader. I've said you don't have to annotate. If you're talking about QBank clearly right now, or even NBME explanations, I've said you don't have to annotate. You need to just extract key points. Right? Truth teller, do you think they'll bring CS back? I don't. When all the pandemic regulations go away, I don't. And I think it's probably just because they're I don't think they would just be too lazy for that. Like, what benefit are they going to have? Like, if they're able to make money from the OET, it's just about money for them. So, like, if that's what it would be. It would just be a financial decision. It has nothing to do with like the quality of the doctors going to residency. It has zero to do with that. Because if it were about the quality of the doctors going to residency as the salient point, then they wouldn't have made step one pass fail, and they wouldn't have ever entertained. No, they wouldn't have made step one pass fail. I talked about it in the last live stream. Samuel Tofor. Hello, Melman. Now that step one is pass fail, does one need step three to match? Good question. If you've been out of med school at least 2 years, it's a good idea. If you haven't been out of med school at least 2 years, don't worry about it. But if you're applying in as like a, like a post grad and you've had a bit of a gap, step three would be very beneficial to prove recent competency. That's what you would need. That's what you would need. Dr. Amar, what's best strategy after UWorld first pass? I've said this repeatedly that you're going to go on to the NBME exams after. Guys, if you're new to the live stream, please give the video a like. You're going to do NBMEs 20 through 24, free 120, and then 25 through 31 after you finish UWorld first pass. I've talked about this a lot. All right, I already talked about in this live stream, like going through 20, 21, based on your scores, whether you progress. I talked about that. Is it true that you need a higher percentage in free 120 compared to NBME? Not really. I mean, the percentage, the questions should be the same. They're just really USMLE questions. It should be the same. But let this reiterate that, or let this reinforce the point when I cumbersomely have students convert all of their percentages from each NBME into a 3-digit score. You say, well, why do that? Why do a Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion like that? Why not just take like a 65% and understand intrinsically what that means, as opposed to converting every percentage to a 3-digit score for interpretation? And the reason is because the scales differ. So a 67 on one form percent could be 3 or 4 points different from a 67% on another NBME. So when when we ask about free 120 and the exact percentage, I mean, it's no different. It's not that you have free 120 and then it's different from the NBMEs. That's not how it is. It's just free 120 is its own like NBME essentially. It's just its own like if it's considered easier or harder by some people, that's no different from how an NBME could feel sometimes a little bit easier or harder, but the questions are the same. Okay. The reason I put free 120 uh, prior to NBME's 25 through 31 and prior to NBME's 9 through 14 for TCK is because there's no 3-digit score conversion for it, but the questions are as valid as the online forms currently. That's why I prioritize it below the online NBMEs because you don't get a 3-digit score conversion. These things are sequential. So like you're doing QBank in order to maximize, like UWorld or Amboss, in order to maximize your performance on the offline NBMEs. And then the offline NBMEs are to maximize your performance on free 120, which maximizes your performance on the real or on the online forms, which in turn maximize your performance on the real USMLE. For TCK, you're going to do Amboss or UWorld in order to maximize your performance on the CMS forms, and then to maximize your performance on offline 6 through 8. And then you're going to do the next pass of all the CMS forms, double pass, to maximize your performance ultimately on free 120 and the online NBMEs so that you can perform the best on the real deal. So things are sequential. I don't put free 120 after like late after NBME 31, or sometimes people put it like before NBME 30. Makes no fucking sense. Okay, like what are you doing? Like the whole point is to maximize your numerical performances on 25 through 31. That's the whole point. That's like the most important score gauges prior to your real deal is 25 through 31. Free 120, you don't have a score gauge. And as I just fucking said, the percentage you get on it, it's hard to interpret because there's no 3-digit conversion for it. Okay. Because the percentages for all the NBMEs, including free 120, the meaning of it in terms of where it falls with regard to a pass mark, they can shift around 3 to 4 points. Guys, I'm just going in order through the live chat right now. If you guys have a question, it's going to take me a while to get to it. You can also do a super chat and I'll immediately answer your question if I see it pop up. Let's see. Truth teller, is it true that you need a higher percentage? No, I just fucking read that. Tav Luthra, how representative is UWSA2? Not important, but it is pretty accurate. UWSA2 is pretty accurate. It is. But I don't incorporate it because the NBMEs still take priority. You know? NBMEs still take priority. So it's nothing against UWSAs. It's just that we have copious NBME material. So it obviates the need to do UWSAs, right? If we've got 20 through 31, we've got free 120. I mean, even if UWSA 2 is accurate, it's not better than NBME 20. And you say, well, are you sure? Of course I'm fucking sure, because NBME 20 is the real deal. NBME like 5 I'd still rather have a student like theoretically do that. But just in practice, if a student comes to me and he or she's exhausted all the NBMEs from, let's say, a prior fail, then we can entertain UWSAs. But just recognize that the questions are not the same as the real deal. It might be accurate, okay? But the questions are not the same as the real deal, ultimately. Ivan Pavlovich, I have a question. I have about 2 months before my step 1 exam. My performance right now, according to NBME, 200 points. How would you recommend to utilize the rest of my time most effectively? Well, you're 2 months out from step 1. You should be doing QBank right now. You shouldn't touch the NBMEs until you are a month and 4 days out. too early for you to do the MBMEs. Thank you, sir. Your material helps me a lot. Learn English with Omnia. Hello, Mike. I've done 8 of NBMEs 20 through 31 with above 70%. Last time I read FA was 5 months ago. Should I review FA again before the real deal? I mean, it's cuckery, right? Have you looked at my PDFs? No. You clearly haven't because, you don't ask about my PDFs. They're better than FA, right? You gotta do my fucking PDFs, Omnia. Samseung Yon Seo. Obviously, I butchered that fucking name. Hey, Mike, just wanted to come by and say I passed step 1 after failure. You told me it was possible, and yes, it worked. I used your PDFs based on my weakness and was able to improve. Thank you. It's good news, Sam. Truth teller, how common is it to get accepted into derm for EG after a preliminary year, and how common is it to not be able to continue residency? Like, isn't preliminary year really risky? Well, why would a preliminary year be risky? It's actually important to do a preliminary year if you just don't want to match. You can apply into like any residency for a preliminary year. You could do a preliminary year like in IM or something, and then apply in a derm. And if you don't get in a derm, just apply and put in other like IM programs under that. So you do like an IM preliminary year or surgery preliminary year or something, and then you're still passionate about dermatology, whatever you say you're into, and then you can list like your 50 dermatology categoricals the next year. And also under that, you can list like surgery programs or something, right? Why not? You just transition from preliminary into categorical. It's riskier not applying into a preliminary transitional year. That's riskier. Because then you just risk not matching. Mayrob, hi Dr. Mike. How can I find your QBank videos or PDF about cell injury / inflammation? You are like really into this shit. I think you asked that like in the Telegram group. Someone was asking about like inflammation. I mean, the thing in my immunology PDF, there's a little bit, but I mean, I have Path. I have a Path PDF on my desktop that I could easily publish with stuff in there on this. I have just chosen not to put that out. But you're like on a roll today with like asking about that, right? You really want to know like inflammation and cell injury. You're like keen on that, right? Like you're asking across different platforms about that. Yeah, June Lee. I wish I could have gone through PDFs earlier. That's me. It's cool that you're Korean, June Lee. Right? But you said you're not in actual Korea. You're in like New York or something. Abdul Rahman, Jarsa. For newly graduate, how much time does it take to prepare for step 1 if I have a strong foundation? I would say like minimum 2 months to 3 months. I would get through all of QBank, and then that's going to take you 1 to 2 months, and then it's going to take you a month to do all the NBME exams. So I'd say 2 months to do QBank plus my PDFs, my YouTube MCQs, 1 month to do the NBME exams. It's 3 months. But if you're in a rush, pump out QBank. Don't neglect that, and then get to the NBME exams. 2-ish months, like 2-ish months at the minimum. Mustafa only got 2 no pulls today. I guess that's what happened when you pull 5 chicks in a row. Things balance out, right, Mustafa? That's what happens. Not even sure if you're still in this live stream, but I lost where it was. Let's see. Well, I mean, you tend to do pretty well with pulls, huh? Actually, your thing is just getting arranged dates. Not even about polls. I wouldn't say your polls are like out of the ordinary. It's just, you know, but you can you capitalize on positive acquiescence state and just walk from the station as you've been doing without any, direct articulation that you're even going to your place. So a lot we can chat about on that, right? I mean, you get a lot of arranged dates. You know, I'm not just gonna say it's like Turkey. Like, I mean, sure, it's like, but that's like notable. Doc Monopoly Hall, Mike, second time going for step one. High yield risk factors is guided more toward TCK. That's correct. But why are people suggesting it for step one now? Because it's fucking excellent. That's why. So my high yield risk factors PDF, it's a TCK tilt PDF. I view it as like a family medicine 2.0 PDF. But if people are obsessing about risk factors for step one, you can go through it. You can do that. But it's a 2CK tilt PDF. Most risk factors are relating to like management type stuff. Management. It's 2CK, right? Like risk factors for stroke, right? Hypertension eclipses, also hypertension control eclipses smoking cessation, for example, for stroke risk. Atrial fibrillation eclipses hypertension. So in the same patient, AFib number one, then hypertension, then smoking. And then we talk about management of those things. Next best step in diagnoses and how do we manage, right? That's the necessary like discussion trajectory, right? You'd say, well, if a patient has atrial fibrillation, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to diagnose it? What are you going to do? Cardiac stenosis, what are you going to do? How are you going to diagnose it? Those are like the necessary like discussion points. That's a lot of that's just step two. So I discuss all the risk factors, but I talk about all the high yield. I can't just say I'm not going to discuss the highest yield fucking like when something comes to mind and then I'm going to improv the highest yield information I know from NBME exams. Um, a lot of that's like step two for risk factors. June Lee, everyone's like so obsessed with matcha nowadays. Anonymous T, is the high yield arrow PDF still high yield for step two? You can do it if you have weak foundation for step two. Like students I have who are very weak. Yeah, step two students I have who like, if they're really, really struggling with like basic like aldosterone or something, you know, only if your basics are really weak. But that's why I said like don't shortchange yourself for step one either. Like make sure you're getting through the entirety of the Q bank, UWorld or AMBOSS. Don't shortchange yourself so that your foundation is strong, so that when you get to 2CK, you're not concerned about do I need to cover like basic endocrine. You know what I'm saying? Like 2CK, you should be focusing on like management stuff, not like how does PTH work. Von Willebrand disease, is matcha a good alternative for coffee? Or is it a bit weaker in terms of giving energy? It's a good alternative, but I mean, like, I wouldn't have like multiple matchas in a day. Like, if I'll have like one matcha per day, it's like, it's hard to explain, but like your body can only handle like maybe one real koi matcha, a dense matcha in like a 24-hour period. Um, yeah, it's like but you can have coffee and like kocha, which is like just black tea or something, or green tea, ocha. You can have like coffee and tea that's not like strong matcha. You can have that throughout the day. If you have a koi matcha, it has like a good caffeine boost. I say koi, it's the powder, the actual like legit matcha powder, and you put in very little water, so it's like a froth. That's how I do it. I use the bamboo whisk. That's got a caffeine boost to it. Mustafa, anything that doesn't contain sugar is good. You don't want to be drinking girly shit. JK, no ban. That's so funny. Um, I mean, it's true though. I mean, women tend to prefer sweet things on dates, right? It's true. You know, that's like, it's just what it is. You know, like if you're a female and you're watching this right now, like if you were to go on a date with some dude, like, you know, and he orders a fucking like, you know, like a strawberry fucking like cocktail, or you know, or like a grape, you know, alcoholic beverage, like, you know, as opposed to just like a fucking draft beer. I mean, like, right? You know, maybe if the girl is screening for like a fucking like beta dude, right? Then that's fine. Well, most of the dudes in Japan are fucking beta. They are. So that could actually help in Japan where like girls like beta fucking dudes. That's like a thing here. I've talked about that many times in my live streams where like, um, yeah, the guys in Japan are just very like feminine and like, you know, a lot of women like that, you know, beta fucking dudes. But it's in Western countries, it tends to be more flipped, where women are more into like the, you know, like military type of like, you know, chiseled dude and stuff. Like that's more like Western culture. But in Japan, it's the opposite. Like women like a soft fucking like feminine dude with like softer features. That tends to be in Japan. Ahmed, what is your next destination after Japan? Not sure. I'm not going to speculate. I'm on the verge of getting my permanent residency here, so that's a first step. And then I can pivot if I choose to. I haven't decided yet. I don't need to decide that right now. But I said in one of my other streams that I almost moved to South Korea in 2018, but I couldn't get the working holiday visa at the time. I wanted to go to South Korea originally. Doc Monopoly. Second time taking step one, I memorized / revised the NBMEs the first time around, and now on my second time, I'm scoring really high in them. How will I know if I'm read and avoid inflation? I blanked out. Um, yeah, I mean, are there any forms you haven't done, Doc Monopoly? Like, have you? I've said before, like this could be an example of a time and place in which you could entertain NBME 19, NBME 18 offline, or even the UWSAs. If you've exhausted all the NBMEs before, but you're in dire need of some sort of predictor, that's when you could incorporate 18, 19, let's say offline, or one of the UWSAs. Garrett, your previous answers indeed, sir, is about the cash stacks, racks of money. It is. HUD. Do micropharm, physiopathology, anatomy, biochem, immunopsych, ethics, and neuro playlists contain all the audio QBank stuff, or will there be some missing? The first 200 MCQs I put like around that number are only on my website as audio. Like they're not video. So if you go onto my website, you can find the first 200 clips, but there's no video. That was my pre-YouTube days. He says, "Hey Mike, I took step 2 6 months ago. I got 256. Can you guide for the resources to prepare for step 3?" You took your step 2 6 months ago. I want to get a good score since I'm an old grad. Thanks. Well, have you got an ECFMG certification yet? Right? Because you got to take the OET or whatever. You got to get ECFMG certification, then you can register for step 3. But the fact that it's been 6 months since you sat step 2, you're going to have to do all the CMS forms again for the step 2 CMS forms. They overlap with step 3, but you're going to have to do the step 2. You're going to have to do those CMS forms again. And you're also going to have to do all the step 2 NBME 6 through 14. In preparation for step 3, yes. Okay, and you're going to obviously do UWorld 1900 questions for step 3, and you're going to do CCS cases throughout. 6 months is quite a gap since step 2 is why I'm having you redo all the CMS forms and all the NBMEs. Because if you just come out of step 2, you might be able to bypass that stuff. That's a long discussion. Most of you are in step 3. Okay, I talked about that in my prior live streams though. Doc Monopoly. Thanks for the $2 super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, exhausted 2031. 23 days to go. Rest up. Yeah. Yeah, my answer still stands, Doc Monopoly. I would do you could do one of the UWSAs or you could do 18 or 19 NBME 18 or 19 offline. Just find it on like the internet or something. 18 or 19 and do it. All 200 questions. And then you can go into Google Images and type in NVMe 18 score conversion Reddit, NVMe 19 score conversion Reddit, exactly like you do for 20. Junebug, if you could go back and start medical school over, how would you study during your basic sciences? I wouldn't have. I didn't study my first 2 years of med school, really. I partied a lot during my first 2 years of med school, and yeah, I was in Australia. I mean, I went to the beach a lot. I didn't like study at all. I like socialized a lot. And then it was after my second year of med when I went into my research degree. That's when I co-studied. That's when I studied for USMLE. I mean, because I didn't plan on studying the USMLE when I was in my first years of med school. Like I was in Australia. I didn't plan on going to the US. That wasn't even a thought of mine. It was only like maybe toward the end of second year. Or maybe it was after I finished second year already. That I thought about maybe I'll sit the USMLE for like competency reasons, just to know objectively I'm where I need to be. That was kind of the initial thought. I had no intention of going to the United States. And then, yeah, when I started studying for it, I was like, I can do this. How would I study during basic sciences? You got to knock out QBank during basic sciences. That's what you're going to do. Like if the goal is USMLE from the start, during first year, you're just going to knock out like questions through the year. It's not USMLE prep at that point. But in second year, yeah, you just need to knock out questions, like throughout. And you got to knock out my PDFs, my YouTube playlists. You can knock out all that stuff. And by the time you get closer to like when you're going to sit step 2, you'll be in much better position. But throughout first 2 years of med school, I would just be doing a lot of questions. Stigmata, finish UWorld first pass with last blocks 45%. What should I do now? NBMEs. No. I've said don't do a second pass at UWorld. You finished UWorld first pass. I've said that the next thing you're going to do is NBMEs 20 and 21. And you're going to get at least a 190 square conversion equivalent. 197 when you get to NBME 22 upward. But you got to go through the NBME exams now. It's only if you're doing poorly on the NBMEs that you start after you finish your first pass UWorld. Will we potentially have you go back to UWorld to do all the incorrects or switch over to AMBOSS and do all that? But if you do well in the NBMEs, you can just continue through without any more QBank review. Ahmed, should we study wrong answer choices in AMBOSS UWorld or just right answer? You can study everything. Just don't get bogged down in explanations. Like read the explanations, but you don't have to annotate. You don't have to like obsess. Guys, if you're in the live stream, please give the video a like. Daniel Tonweir. Hey, Mike, thank you for all your PDFs. 75% on the recent NBME solid. Yeah, of course, that's very high. Let me see. Ahmed, can you tell us more about your experience working with FA? I talked about this a lot. my prior live streams. Did you leave because they did not cater to the NBMEs? I mean, no. It's not why. It's because I had to sign the long story short, it's because I had to sign non-competition agreements that prevented me from making my own content for years after when I would leave FA. And that was a deal breaker for me. But I could have stayed on. I could have gone on to be senior editor, had my name on the front cover and all that stuff. But, I had already done 2 years with them, and like I didn't care at that point. Like when you first start, obviously it's this big fucking deal, right? And it was more of a big deal back then, but it was a big fucking deal. Like holy shit! And then, that's how it was for maybe the first year, and then the second year it was just business. Like I was doing what I need to do for the book. But then moving onward, it was just about the non-competition agreement. I didn't want to deal with like not being allowed legally to make my own content after leaving them for like many years, because I didn't know it was going to be like, this amount of time. I originally was working on a book while I was in med school, and so I just wanted that flexibility to be able to make my own content, and I also wasn't fully interested after the first 2 years. Like I worked really hard. I worked super fucking hard on FA as an author the first year. When I was an editor the second year, I didn't work quite as hard. I worked hard, but not quite as hard. And then going onward to like a third year, even if I were like senior editor, I like didn't care at that point as much. I just didn't care, So I just didn't care. And like I felt that it was genuinely non-selfish in that regard. Like I didn't feel that I should occupy that position if I didn't fully care. That was truly like maybe that was like 30% of it. And then 70% was I didn't want to sign non-competition agreements for like many years after I left FA. So if I did another year, that's, that doesn't even factor into the time frame. It'd be like, well, am I going to leave the following year and then the non-competition period, starts? Like I just didn't know. And that's how it was. Let's see, truth teller. Why does everyone say Pathoma 1 through 3 is really high yield if you say it's not that important? Look, I mean, it's nothing negative. It's just, I've said before, I just don't see it. I've looked at it. I just don't see it as a big deal. I'm not trying to be negative. I don't give a fuck. It's just like, I view Pathoma as like the resource equivalent of some like mediocre YouTube video that goes viral. Okay. Like I'll make strategy clips that are like spot on, fucking amazing. You'll have like one random fucking like, some random fucking dude in like India or Pakistan or something holding up like an FA. And then that video will get like, 200,000 views or something. It's like, why the fuck did that video get 200,000 views out of all fucking videos? And then that person has like 90K subs for like their fucking like 45 videos that they have on YouTube. That's how it works sometimes. Okay. That's like the 0.1%. That's how it happens sometimes. And I think Pathoma is sort of like the written resource manifestation of that viral circle where somehow it fucking kicked off. No fucking idea how, in my view. Okay. That's my view. But it's not for me to decide. The market decides. IAM. How much of step one is biostats and ethics? It's a minor percentage. I mean, as I said, these things are objectively written on USMLE website. They have percent breakdowns of the subjects on the exam. Right? So like 5% maybe for biostats, 5 to 8% tops. 8% is too much. 5%. No, actually, I think it's like 2 to 5%. It's like a low amount. It's not much. Maybe around 5%. But I have a biostats PDF. I have a communication ethics PDF. Just going through your audio key bank, saw that you're live. So saying hi says rejuvenate simple. It's called rejuvenate. Rejuvenate simple. If a guy orders a sweet drink on a date, I think I veer away because I am alpha. You answer that like as if you're a girl, like you're saying like I veer away from a dude who orders a sweet drink if you're on a date. I think you meant to say like if a guy orders a sweet drink dot 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 like and then your elliptical statement is like in reference to me actually I veer away from um, that type of thing because I'm alpha. That's what you say. I don't analyze it that way, nor do I give a fuck. It's just like if I'm ordering an alcoholic drink on a if I'm out, it tends to be like draft beer. That's what I'll tend to order, or like a Nihonshu, which is Japanese rice wine. That's what I'll order. Then the chick can't fucking drink that usually, and then she'll get her little like her like sweet drink, her lime chuhai or whatever it is. That's what she'll get. And then we go to how laughable is this? And then we go to Dr. Sigma. Okay, let's do that. Does a research exchange in IFMSA, International Federation of Medical Student Association, have valuable weight in strengthening the CV for match application? Probably not. Doubt it. It's just about whom you know. It's just about like most research is nonsense. It's not about number of papers. It's about impact. People who actually do research, they'll look at your impact. I've said like your 24 bullshit papers, no one cares. If you have one paper where you're a second author and it's the paper's published in like Cell, or Nature or something, that's going to get you way further than your bullshit fucking 24 papers that you got during your master's because your advisor was easy or something. It's not about number. Anecdotally, I've seen people with lots, like obnoxious amounts of research publications, not get in, not match, because you got to have good scores, and you know, Chanel and Nisbet in most animes, the characters tend to make really over the top gestures, reactions, sounds. I don't know else to describe this. In your opinion, is that an accurate depiction of Japanese social norms? Japanese are like very Japanese humor is extremely like loud and silly. I hate Japanese humor. Um, yeah, like like Jackass humor. It's like very loud, but Jackass at least like the old TV show or like old movies, like Jackass humor at least was like funny in that they did like skits where they like hurt themselves and stuff. But like that loud type of like obnoxious, like everyone's laughing all the time, very silly. That's how like all the comedy shows are. Like I view them as low IQ. Like I really I like hate Japanese humor. As I said, everyone's like always very loud, very silly, very like it doesn't appeal to me. It just like yeah, it doesn't appeal to me. And I had like a good friend when I was in the immersion school here, like years ago, where he was like into that stuff. Like he really liked all that like that silly type of like humor stuff, and like some people like that. You know, like if it's like Seinfeld or like Friends or something. Like I liked Seinfeld better. Seinfeld was more like dry humor or like clever humor. And then you get some people who like the more loudish type of humor. Hmm. Do you subject specific playlists contain? I fucking answered that already. HUD. I answered that. Do subject specific playlists contain all the audio key bank? No, I said somewhere on my website. Will you make Psi 8882? We make micro PDF anytime soon? Probably not. It's not on my priority. It's not my top priority right now. I could, but I've said high yield dermatology is loaded with micro. I've said that. And I've got micro PowerPoints on my YouTube, right? I've said that. And micro PowerPoints. Not just the 3 to 5 minute MCQs for my audio Q bank, but I've got the literally 45-minute PowerPoint presentation. So if you go into the playlist on my YouTube, there's 45-minute micro PowerPoints, literally. Okay, I bet you didn't know that, some of you. And there's also a virology. I have a virology PDF, actually. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I have a virology PDF. If you go on the free stuff tab, my website, then down below, in the assessments, so you scroll down below PDFs, and in the assessments, you'll see the virology PDF there. Here we go with the cuckery. Why have I never seen you laugh, says Yay Garrett. I've laughed sometimes. Yeah, people have an obsession with that. Right? People are you need to smile more. It's very fucking annoying. It's relax. Okay? I mean, relax. Stigmata. Okay, so how many hours NBMEs should I do now? Should I spend half the day reading your PDFs? I've said for QBank, you're going to do the first half of the day where you're doing questions, the 40 questions, and then the second half of the day is when you're going to be doing my PDFs. If you're already in the NBME exams, you can spend basically the whole day reviewing NBMEs, and the PDFs you're going to do toward the evenings. You read, Tav Luthra says, you read in FA 2023 that STEP is less focused on pharmacology. Is that true? Any thoughts? As I said, it's no one's opinion. It's on the USMLE website. They have a breakdown of by subject percentages. They do. I'm going to end this live stream pretty soon because I'm pretty caked out right now. It's 5:26 a.m. where I am. Faz, I'll answer your question. 2-paragraph fucking question, Faz. Seriously? Hi, Dr. Mike. I'm studying while working. Can't get 40 Qs per day done at the moment. I'm taking the whole of next year off to sit the exams. Is it worthwhile finishing your world and USMLE RX this year, then following? You got to get through fucking QBank, and you got to do your best to get through 40 per day. If you're studying next year and then your prep starts then, get through 40 per day then, but you got to get through 40 per day. You go on to say, your advice using Amboss QBank is in my dedicated year, ? Or just a waste of money? No, I said Amboss or UWorld. They're non-superior to each other. Love your content. Almost gave up on my USMLE journey until I found your channel. You are heaven sent. Thanks, Foss. Sai, how did you memorize as a student? When I was studying for step 1, I annotated, but I've said I don't recommend that because I look back at that as inefficiency. I would spend all day doing QBank meticulously, trying to memorize every detail, and I would heavily annotate. The annotations were largely a waste of time. I still got my first aid 2012. And I also have, the one that I used for studying for step 1. So it was just loaded with annotations that I didn't end up because annotations you make in time, you're going to look back at those why did I write that stuff? It's overrated. In terms of helping you memorize stuff, you got to just read and be confident and try to remember. Don't make Anki. Don't annotate. That's my view. If something's high yield, it'll show up more than once, many times. Mike, how many push-ups can you do at one time? I don't fucking do push-ups because I said calisthenics or beta. I did actual real bench press today, heavy bench press today. That's what I did, and not fucking push-ups. Right? I did bench. I did biceps. I did back. So I did lateral pull downs. I did rows. I did some abs, and then I did legs. I did leg press. I didn't do free weights. I actually did machine legs. I did leg press 3 sets with calves, and then I did leg extensions and leg curls, 3 sets each. That's what I did. I didn't do like squats or deadlifts or anything like that. What PDFs do you recommend for step 2 specifically? Peds, obs, gynae, got to go through those. But obviously, cardiopulmonary, gastro, hematology, those are all internal medicine. Those are all very important. So it's been 2 hours, guys, almost. All right. So I got through your questions. Obviously, I'm going to make more live streams. All right. You know how this is. So I appreciate you guys. Give the video a like if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel. Got a Joy. Which MDMA do you suggest to start if first time taking MDMA? 20. There you go, Subby. There you go. So yeah, guys, give the video a like. I appreciate you guys, and I'll obviously make more of these. All right. See you guys later.